Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jag from Jag's Watches, and recently I've been feeling a little bit conflicted about Rolex. Sometimes I feel very positive about the brand, and sometimes I then switch it up and go to the dark side and start to have negative thoughts about the brand. And I don't know why that is, and so I've decided to have a therapy session with all of yourselves, and hopefully together as one we can all heal. Because I know it's not just me, I see it in the comments under almost all my videos that talk about Rolex. There's people that love it, people that hate it, people that sit on the fence, and people like me that sway from one side to the other. And I want to investigate as to whether that's because of the watches, because of the brand, because of the ADs. But before I do get into it, I just want to say thank you for all the support on the channel so far. If you've been enjoying the videos, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss on any videos. Why would you give up the chance, or pass on the chance, I should say, on hearing my lovely voice 3 times a week? I'm already joking. I'm already risking some people from unsubscribing by saying that. Disregard that. So, look, it's definitely a polarizing brand, Rolex. Some people treat it as the pinnacle of horology. Some people think it's overpriced, some people think it's overhyped. And you know what? I think they're both kind of right. And I want to break it down today. 3 reasons why I love Rolex and 3 reasons why I maybe don't like it as much. And hopefully by the end of it, we can come to some sort of conclusion together. And as I said, heal together. Now, the first reason why I think Rolex are loved is because they have unmatched brand recognition. You cannot deny it's probably the most recognizable brand when it comes to watches. And I think there is some sort of appeal to that. You don't need to be a watch enthusiast to know the Crown logo. For many people, that recognition sort of equals to trust, prestige, and timelessness. And it is a status symbol to a certain extent, but also a conversation starter. It's safe, yes, but also an effective choice. You cannot deny that the watches are great. For people who want to wear something iconic and that speaks for itself, I think Rolex is probably the go-to brand. The second reason why I think Rolex are loved is because of their quality and their reliability. I don't think many people can argue with the fact that their build quality is great, their bracelets are very comfortable, whether you're talking about the Jubilee or the Oyster, but their finishing as well as their movements, and I know we're not talking about other brands, I'm just talking about Rolex. Their accuracy, the reliability, their build quality is great. And that is one of the reasons why I think they are loved, just purely for the fact that their watches are great watches. Now, are they overhyped? Are they overpriced? That's another thing, but they are good watches and they do what they're supposed to do, in my opinion. They are, in certain cases, built like tanks, and their movements are in-house, rigorously tested, and made for daily wearers underwater, on the mountain and in the jungles. They've got watches that sort of tick almost any box. And I think moving on now to the third reason why I think Rolex is loved so much is because of their resale value and their investment appeal. And I do think that if this is probably the main reason, because all the other brands I've talked about do have, to a certain extent, those first 2 qualities, which is reliability, quality control, and brand recognition to a certain extent. But the resale value and the investment appeal that Rolex has, Omega doesn't have that. IWC doesn't really have that. So all these other brands that are competing with Rolex are going to lose because I think of this reason. It's often seen as that safe investment. If you buy a Sub or a Daytona at retail, and if you decide it's not for you, you know it's going to hold its value and you might make a bit of profit from it from selling it on. Even in a cooling market, even in a downwards market, I think Rolex has proven to be the most resilient brand when it comes to holding its value. And that gives buyers confidence. They know that they're putting their money into something that won't sort of tank straight away as soon as you buy it. And again, that's where I think it trumps a lot of these other brands. And that's why I think a lot of Rolex fanboys, and I keep saying it, sometimes I'm a Rolex fanboy, but I sway to the dark side now and again. But that's why I think Rolex, I think this is the biggest reason, because of the resale value, because of the investment appeal. As soon as you take that away, I think things start to change up a little bit. Now, why is Rolex hated? The artificial scarcity, and now people will argue that this isn't because of the brand, this isn't because of the watches, this is because of the ADs. And so the ADs are separate to the brand. However, I do think there is a certain level of responsibility. Rolex know this is happening, and maybe there is some responsibility there if they really, really cared, which makes me suggest they don't actually care because it's been going on for so long. it's just created this frustrating game where these players, these gatekeepers, and regular buyers are left often waiting for years and years, and just this feeling of feeling grateful to get the call, this feeling of having to spend stupid money on other things just to get the watch that you want, makes me feel like I don't want anything to do with Rolex at certain points. Why should I have to go and buy some jewelry? Why should I have to buy a watch I don't want to buy just to get the watch I do want? I think that sort of leaves a disgusting taste in my mouth. I know a lot of you agree with me on this point because I've seen it in the comments. I just think it's so weird and it's so warped and so backwards. And I think my biggest reason as to why I just go from one side to the other, this weird scarcity, artificial scarcity that the 80s create. The second reason why I think it's hated is because it's a status flex and not always a watch lover's brand. And a lot of people just buy Rolex to show off. They don't know much about horology. They don't know much about watches, and that's okay. That isn't a huge reason for me, but it can be a reason why sometimes you hate or dislike a brand. A certain type of individual buys it. I've mentioned so many times about AP Royal Oaks being in Dubai, and these crypto millionaires are saying move to Dubai and all this kind of stuff. I know I'm stereotyping. I shouldn't stereotype. It just can sometimes make the watch tacky and the brand tacky. And that can make it feel quite soulless, especially if you're somebody who values sort of storytelling and passion in your watches. It just becomes this status symbol, and not for me, but it's not a big reason, but it is a reason. The third reason could be its conservatism, especially when it comes to its design. Now, we've seen the Land Dweller. That is definitely pushing its boundaries to a certain extent. We usually see Rolex staying in its box and just changing colors here and there, which I kind of like. I don't mind it, but I can see why this is one of the reasons why people don't like Rolex. They don't often do anything very new. They don't often change much, and people might just be bored of their designs. They've been the same for such a long time now. But on the flip side, people might say, why change a perfect design? We talk about the Submariner quite a lot on the channel. It's the most copied, most iconic watch of all time. It's debatable, but I feel like the Submariner is definitely probably the most copied watch of all time. And that's because that design is timeless. The updates can be seen as painfully incremental, a new case size, a new bezel, as I mentioned. But it just may seem quite boring for the average consumer like you and me, and I totally get it. I think when you compare it to brands like Grand Seiko, Omega, and even Tudor lately, to a certain extent, all these brands are doing outlandish stuff, whereas Rolex has never really done that. And so that could be another reason. So, in conclusion, is Rolex overrated? Maybe, but it's still a brilliant watchmaker. It still has timeless pieces. It all depends, I guess, on the type of collector you are. I think the main reason why I sometimes go to the dark side and start to dislike Rolex a little bit is because of the 80s, and I know that is separate to the brand. But I do feel like it would be great to see Rolex, the brand, intervene in some way, shape or form. I know that's probably not a realistic want or need, but if they did that, I don't think I'd sway to the other side as much. Let me know in the comments, where are you on the fence of this, because it would be really interesting to know. Do you find yourself liking it all the time, hating it, or you like me and you go sort of back and forth between disliking and liking? But there's one thing that is for sure. They do make great watches. And I don't think there's any denying that. Are they overhyped, overpriced? Probably. Most likely, yes. But again, let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to know. And as usual, if you've enjoyed the video, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of my future videos. I've been Jag from Jags Watches, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.